Yeah.
We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
I'm Danielle.
And we're here for another great morning to talk to you. We were in an amazing conversation on yesterday. We were talking about, is your marriage doomed? And we were digging in to some excellent points, and we're going to continue that conversation. But before we do,
I want to welcome my people. Sorry, guys, I'm on a little bit of delay today, but that's okay because I'm about to get right in the groove. If you are new with us, I want to make sure that you like, share, and subscribe so that you do not miss a show. And of course, I want to welcome all of you. Thank you, guys. You guys are such fast learners. When I say come on here and say, hey, my name is and I am from, y'all have been getting with it. You know what else you can add to that? Questions. You know why? Because in the second segment, that's when we answer all your questions. So if you're already popping questions in, we'll be ready to go for the second segment. But I just want to welcome some of you. Good morning, Torre. Good morning to see you. Good to see you. LaShawn, hello. Clarence, hello. Jocelyn, hello. Darlene, y'all are doing it this morning. Dustin, hello. John, Angelic, good morning. And Ralph, I just want to welcome all of you. Thank you for joining us every morning.
Yep. And listen, this weekend, we're doing our last chance weekend. The last time we did this, literally somebody called in the day before and we had a spot for them. So it's not too late for you. If you're wondering how you can get involved, the link is in the description below. So make sure you click on that, set up a free discovery call with us. We would love to talk with you and talk to you about how this weekend can be truly impactful for you and your relationship. All right, guys, we're talking about misery. Misery. We're talking about being doomed.
Are you doomed?
Are you doomed, right?
I hope you're not doomed.
I hope you're not doomed. And here's the reality. We said this yesterday that no, if you actually do something about your situation, your marriage will not be doomed. Right. But if you're waiting around for somebody else or something else to swoop down, to knock on your door, to ring your bell, to say, here, I'm the solution.
Or if you've surrounded yourself by a whole bunch of chickens in a coop that cannot see any different because they're stepping in the same poop that you're stepping in and eating the same feed that you're eating, that's a problem too. What we need to do is rise above that and surround ourselves with people such as yourselves who are forward thinkers, who know that there are some things that we can do. And we just need to tune in every day to the Couples Academy show so that we can find out what those things are.
That's absolutely true. You know, there's something powerful about modeling. If I think about my life, when I saw someone else do it, I said, well, if he can do it, I can do it. If she can do it, I can do it. If they can do it, I can do it. But I think what happens is we're on an island and all we are looking at is our current situation. And we're not seeing anyone in sight that has what it is that we want. And so proximity is power. You want to get around people, you want to bring them in your approximation who are healthy, who are striving, who are successful, who have done it. Because once you know their story and once you know what they've gone through and how they've overcome, it really increases your ability to believe it's possible for you.
Who have done it and who are doing it. Like, doesn't it frustrate us when we hear people talking about they're reading so-and-so's book who has a history of failing, who has a history of doing it wrong? Why are we listening to these people?
Don't call the people out.
I'm not going to call nobody out.
There are people who
I know that game. Don't call nobody out.
Like some people literally.
And you're listening to these people and you're taking their advice and you're like buying the books and going to the book signing and doing the 5 to 10 steps in the 60 days and all that. And it's crazy because you don't go to people who have what you don't want. If you want to learn how to get a divorce, how to cheat and how to rob, steal and kill and destroy, that's who you go to. If you want to have a successful relationship, you go to people who have that and learn how to get it.
That makes so much sense. We're going to get into this topic. All right, so we're talking about some points here. So how do you know if your marriage is doomed? Our interactions feel more like a parent-child relationship than one between equals. And, you know, there's something called an internal age and a biological age, right? So when it comes to this, maybe your natural tendency is to be more youthful, and you've married someone extremely, not just biologically older, but more mature, and it creates a huge gap. We see that a lot, in relationships where there's a gap of say 8 to 10 years. Like we have different different cultures. When I say cultures, not ethnicity, but the way we were raised. Generational. Yeah, exactly. Right. And sometimes that can cause a disparity, and that's a gap that needs to be closed. And I think a lot of times there's this looking down on, I'm here to teach you, I'm here to guide you type thing. And I think it can have a negative impact on a relationship overall because it impacts intimacy. Yeah. I remember being when I was on that show, Little Women's Couples Retreat, right, that we did in Puerto Rico on Lifetime. There was such a relationship where the woman, she was the boss. She made all the decisions. She bought his clothes. She told him what to eat. She told him where he could go, what friends he can have. And I remember being in the session.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, okay. And I remember being in a session and I was telling them that they had this parent-child dynamic that wasn't healthy for their relationship. Yeah. And so I asked the husband, I said, would you make love to your mother? And he was just like, absolutely not. And I said to the woman, I said, would you make love to your child? No. I said, but that's why you have no intimacy in this relationship, because you treat each other and fulfill the roles of a parent-child relationship.
Wow, that's disgusting and true all at the same time. I don't even know how to move on from there. But that makes sense that you would have, you're not going to have that in-love connected feeling with somebody that you feel responsible for their every move, clothing, feeding, their health. I remember they had health concerns, and she was always overly concerned about her. So that makes a lot of sense.
All right, let's go to the next point.
We are uncomfortable about exposing our inner selves to each other. And, that's a big one for me, because I know that, with our personality styles, we tend to really have major insecurities about our own idiosyncrasies. It's interesting. Whenever I'll do an Enneagram assessment with a couple, I'll have to have this conversation with them about when you start to feel the heat in your body, the anxiety, the frustration, the nervousness, the whatever, the shame, just know that it's only you feeling it because it's your personality style. We all have them, right? We all have these things that we're trying to cover and keep other people from knowing, right? That we've been carrying our whole lives, right? The good news is that we all have them. Everybody has them. Nobody gets to escape the experience of insecurity. And the beauty about going through a process where you get a chance to understand each other's Enneagram is that we go through it together. So it's a very powerful opportunity to expose all your faults and your flaws and your idiosyncrasies together. And you're on the same playing field, because even though I may not feel the same anxiety about the same things, we both have things. And so there's like that level of intimacy and connection that you can have going through that process. Because it's hard. What I want to add to that is that it's hard when it's only one person with a willingness to expose weaknesses, right? That's what keeps you from feeling that connection and that intimacy. If I'm the only one that's open and willing to share my heart and my concerns and my issues, and the other person is always shut down, closed, and can't expose anything, then I don't have intimacy with you.
Very true. And, when we talk about the 7 levels of intimacy, level number 6 is where you begin to reveal your faults, fears, and failures. And that is exposing woundedness. But the reality is we don't feel comfortable and safe doing that. Like, why would I tell you about my faults and my fears when you've got a PhD and telling me about my own? It's just like, so now I'm supposed to admit to you that you were right so that I can hear you say, I told you so.
And that's scary.
You needed to listen to me in the first place. Like, scary. Nobody wants to do that.
Right.
And so what happens is we build up these walls and we put on these masks. And here I am at work. I'm performing for everyone else. But when I come home, I feel like I got to perform for you too, because I'm living up to your expectation and your idea what a real man is or what a real woman is. And so it creates this lack of genuineness and connection in the relationship when I just can't be myself. So guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to feel comfortable going around my friends and going around others and unfortunately getting involved and entangled in inappropriate relationships because she understands me. You don't understand.
Or I could just be myself with this person. I don't have to hide. I don't have to cover up anything. I don't have to hide the crooked toe with the bunion on it. I can show all my colors.
You got a crooked toe with a bunion on it too?
I don't.
Oh, I'm just saying.
I was talking about me.
I was just, because it's been like 18 years. I haven't seen that toe yet.
I don't have that foot. But the point is that we don't want to expose ourselves to somebody who is critical of us. That's the bottom line. right? And so do your Enneagram assessment, get it done. You know why? Because you both have to become vulnerable and expose your own weaknesses so that you can learn and grow from them. And that's the point.
Yeah, people who've done that Enneagram, every single time, it's amazing to see how blown away they are because it's so spot on. And it's just like, oh my God, I thought I knew myself. I don't even know myself. Or this confirms what I've always known, but now I know why. And you can do something with the why if you know what the real reason is. So listen, guys, hope this is helping. We got a whole lot more points. We want you to throw those questions and those comments in so that we can interact with you. We'll be right back. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Welcome back, family. You are watching the Couples Academy Show. Thank you guys for dropping your comments. I didn't mean to say little. I hate when people say that. You're little. Thanks for dropping your little comments. Thanks for your little contribution.
Your little vision.
Your little decision.
Your little thing over there.
I didn't mean to say that. Thank you guys for dropping your comments in here. Ralph is saying, everyone has to make a door through the wall so your spouse can come in and help with their hurt and confusion. Ralph sounds like you've been listening to us for a while, don't he? Make a doorway through the wall that you've built so that you can open that door, come inside, and help put things back in order, all that brokenness and all that hurt. That's a powerful statement. Anything you want to add to that, babe?
No, that was good.
Okay, Beauty says, this happens a lot in narcissistic relationships. You feel like you can't be yourself. It's all about what they want. It's no compromise. That's absolutely true.
All right, let's go to the next point. We sweep things under the rug.
Right, okay.
I mean, I agree.
All right.
We sweep things under the rug,
Okay.
So we hardly ever fight. Now, here's the deal. I know I have said, and I'm sure you have said, you know what? I don't believe no couple who tells me that they don't fight. That's not realistic. That's not true.
Yes.
I'm not trying to listen to that. That's whack. That's crazy because it doesn't align with your reality. But you know what? The truth is, we've worked with couples who literally...
They don't fight.
They don't fight. And I realized that it was due to their personality. And I don't mean to harp on this, but this is why you need to get it. Because literally, a couple's been married for 9 years. Never had a fight. When we get it, but yet they're in counseling because they have major issues, right? Yes. So what happens is they love to keep the peace, and they will do so at all costs.
Yes.
And if avoiding an argument, if avoiding an issue, because that's issue avoidance, keeps the peace in the house, that's what we'll do. So those are the peacekeepers who are sweeping their issues under the carpet. The carpet's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So there's an explosion. So they're not the individuals who are aggressive. They're passive aggressive.
They are very passive.
Very passive aggressive. Yes. And they'll start doing other things to deal with their issues that they do not confront or discuss in their relationship.
And you know those couples too, like they do have an underlying resentment going on because they're constantly shoving things up under the rug. And I say it like this, when we lived in Costa Rica a couple years ago, there was a volcano. It was the Poas volcano. And that thing was active, which is kind of scary because Costa Rica is a small country. It would usually smoke, but sometimes it really wasn't doing anything, but it was always active. One time in 2 years did I see that thing have some red lava coming out of it. So what's the point? Just because you don't see the lava underneath my volcano doesn't mean that I'm not boiling with hot fury. That's what happens with the peacekeepers. Those are usually your 9s on the Enneagram. They like to keep the peace, not like they have to at all costs keep the peace at the detriment of themselves, at the detriment of making choices, standing their ground about things, having a voice or an opinion. They do a lot of sweeping things under the rug. And then one day when nobody is expecting it, the eruption. And have you ever seen a volcano erupt? It tears up everything. Hassani is crazy right now. What is happening?
See, I'm smiling but you don't realize I'm bubbling and boiling on the inside.
Yes.
And that's a passive aggressive person.
And how that
You
was kind of
never
creepy.
know.
And that right there is an example of the creepiness of it all. Because if you sitting here smiling and underneath that smile is, I'm gonna get you.
Sucker.
You know,
I'm gonna get you, sucker.
I'm gonna get you, sucker, or you gonna see. You gonna see.
I'm gonna fix you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the type of stuff that you have to worry about.
But that's so real.
Yeah.
And so many of you think, well, that's good because you know what? I don't express my outward anger. But there's an internal anger that's fueling. And we've talked about, and I'm not going to go into it, but we've talked about the power of accumulation when you allow things to build up to such a degree that it becomes destructive. And oftentimes you can participate in destructive activities. Infidelity is one of them. Divorce is one of them. There's all types of things. Absolutely. Yeah. Emotional disconnection where you're like two strangers, two roommates living in the same household. So it is not a healthy thing. Sometimes a fight is a good thing because, as I've always said, there's a gift in crisis, because when there is crisis, it forces you to address the issue at hand. Yeah. It may not be comfortable. It may not be what you want to deal with, but guess what? The issue came out. We had to deal with it. Yeah. We resolved it, and we were able to move forward.
And there's a healthy way to fight. Let's just say that. Like, we're not condoning cussing each other out, having a sling down, slap down. You know, no, we're
sling down and a slap down.
Not a sling down and a slap down. We're talking about dealing with issues, right? When we say arguing about something, that we're referencing disagreeing about something and then dealing with it, not fighting. But at the end of the day, you have to disagree. It's a reality. You don't agree with everything. You have a voice, and it should be heard, especially you nines. All right, go to the next one.
All right, here we go.
There is a disparity in how invested we are in the relationship. Many of you on this live show probably understand that, because a lot of you, actually show up without your spouse because you are vested in the repair of your relationship. And so you show up every day so that you can get those golden nuggets and try to apply, and still you don't see any change in them. And so, of course, that's a big sign that there's trouble in what should be paradise, right? When you actually can't convince your spouse to even join you for a live show or to read a book with you. I mean, that's one of the things that really helped Hassani and I over the years, is that we always enjoyed sharing knowledge with one another. And we particularly like learning about marriage. So if you don't have that, that's a sign that you're in trouble. Yep,
absolutely. A couple questions. Barry says, how do we resolve conflict when we are still working through recovery? Well, there's many tools and many techniques that you can implement. And as you increase your skill level, you'll realize the conflict that we struggle with for so long, we were able to have a quick resolution. And there are some tools that we absolutely use. And one of them is the marriage negotiation worksheet, as we've been talking to you about. That's something that we use with our clients. And interestingly enough, things that they've struggled with for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, they're able to quickly explode through that issue and get to resolution.
So true.
And the process is a very solution-oriented process. Most of you are experts and you have your PhD in the problem, but you really struggle to know, solution? Haven't figured that out yet. And so you never get there. And then what happens is, because you don't have a healthy environment to communicate, all of the negative emotions and issues arise, which keeps you from getting to the issue at hand and bringing around resolution. And sometimes you just need a third party, someone who can balance you two out. Because if one of you is more of a dominating type of personality and the other one's more, I just want to keep the peace, then you'll never have any type of resolution or mutually beneficial conversation. So you need somebody that will keep the both of you in check, so you can get to the solution.
Absolutely.
All right. So we're going to go to the next point. I can't even seem to influence my partner to do what I respect. And you kind of just hit on that. Request, excuse me. And that's very true. It's just like, I don't have a voice when it comes to you. Like, you don't even care about my thoughts, about my opinions, about what's important to me. Like, I have a desire for this. And it's just like, you know what? It's just like I'm a stranger to you. Like, it's only about you. And it's beyond narcissism. That's true. A narcissistic person only thinks about themselves and what they want. But sometimes when you're at a point where you're just done,
right,
and you're just, you're just resentful, disagreeable.
You're in a place of bitterness.
You're bitter. You just don't care.
And that's that wall. I think Ralph was saying, that's that wall that's up. Right? They built that wall. It really doesn't matter what you say. They no longer care about your opinion. Oh my God, we were there. We talk about the wall that me and Hassani had up, and I just could care less.
I had these bricks.
What he said.
These things, and she would grab them,
Yeah.
and then she would build this wall.
Right.
And
that's right.
It was hard to penetrate.
Those emotional, those words, those negative things, those were the bricks that I would build my protective wall around me. And so even though he was trying to change, that didn't matter to me either. Even though he might criticize, that didn't matter to me either. So sometimes we get to a place where we become numb.
Absolutely.
So we're talking about, is your marriage doomed, and what we could do to get to become aware and get out of it. We've got more coming up after this break. We'll see you in a second.
All right, guys, we're back. We're talking about, is your marriage doomed? And we're coming to the conclusion that it doesn't have to be if you're willing to put in the work. We have a comment from Corliss that says, being angry for too long will definitely pull couples apart. You just go through the motions of marriage. And that's so very true. And aren't you just sick and tired of going through the motions?
Tired of being sick and tired.
If we're just going through the motions and going around in a circle, I'm ready to get off of this train. Like, we need to make a decision. What are we going to do? We either going to move forward, or we're just going to keep. It's just like being on a treadmill. You're running and running and running, but you're not really going anywhere. You're stuck in the same place, and that's not a healthy feeling.
Yeah, I can't find the comment because it keeps coming in, but somebody said, what gram? And Hassani said, not Instagram. That's your problem right now. You on Instagram. The Enneagram personality assessment. If you want to learn more about that, you guys can go to our website, couplesacademy.org, and you can learn all about how that can help you just become clear about who you are, why you are, and your spouse. Delisa has a comment. She says, my name is Delisa, and I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. My husband and I have been married 10 years, and we have one child, no infidelities, but I no longer wish to remain married to him. Now, how often does that happen, Hassani, where somebody is just like, I've been committed for so long, I've given everything, I've raised our children together, but this just isn't for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I think a lot of times people think that the only death blow to a relationship is infidelity, and it is not. And even though the overwhelming majority of the people who watch in and tune in have experienced that, there are other situations and struggles that people deal with that are really challenging. And so I would want to ask you a question, and I guess it's rhetorical because we don't have you on the show, though we would like to. You know, what has led you to that point? How long have you been feeling that way? Have you really taken the time to process? Have you bounced that idea off with your spouse and with others? Do you have sound wisdom and guidance? Do you have a community of support that you've tapped into before coming to this conclusion? And is it too late for you? Can it not turn around? Because truth be told, I think many of us go through seasons when we're just done. You know what? We just don't want it anymore. And it is a season, just like we have winter, spring, summer, and fall. Something shifts you out of that season and out of that mindset into a much better place.
And it's what you do during those seasons, because every relationship goes through this. Okay, so when you talk to people who've been married 30, 40 years, they will tell you of the seasons where it was a cold winter and everything was dead in the relationship, dead. What you do during those dead seasons determines everything about the future. A lot of people make the mistake of thinking, I've fallen out of love, so let me go lie, steal, kill, and destroy and cheat on my wife and try to find something somewhere else, not realizing that all they had to do is, bind themselves together and get through that season and get to the next season. So,
I heard something so powerful. I was listening to an audiobook yesterday, and they were saying, when things are going well with you and your spouse, you're committed to your spouse. When things are okay and you're not feeling your spouse, you're committed to your marriage. When things are not going well, you're committed to your commitment. I thought that was so powerful. Like, you know what? That. I'm not feeling you, but I'm committed to the marriage. So, if that's what I have to do, this marriage is not going well, but I'm committed to the fact that I made a commitment and I'm willing to endure the hardship to get to the other side. I said, that is so powerful.
Yes, it is.
I'm going to use that and embrace that concept because there are seasons, to your point, where we vacillate, we go back and forth and we're in and out. And it's just, you don't have to remain stuck in your situation. I remember when you thought, you know what, once the in-love feeling is gone, it's gone forever. And it's reverberated every time we play that testimonial. And you've had to eat those words because that's not true.
Yeah, I ate that word and put a cherry on top of whipped cream, and I eat it every day, and I'm so glad. Let me go to this next comment here. Ralph says, my wife's Enneagram is 6 and mine is 9, and we are trying to help everyone because we didn't get the help we needed when we were young. I know the things you said about 9 is true for me. Wow.
Yep. See how empowered you become when you know what you know, and then how you can begin to empower others when you're operating from a position of knowledge. So awesome.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go to the next one. We have a few more. I don't know if I really love my partner. And I think that really speaks to what the woman from Indiana just articulated.
Yeah.
And I would say that, you know what, you may not love your partner in the sense of that erotic type of love. You know, when we think about Eros, that's the sensual, emotional, in love feeling type of posture of love. But then there is phileo, which is that caring love. Like, you know what? I still care for you as a human being. You are the father of my children. You are my husband. There's a seat that you sit in. So I have a genuine care and I want everything to be well for you. That is an expression of love. And then you have agape love, right? When we know about that from 1 Corinthians chapter 13, when times are tough and things are rough, that's when you need to be anchored into that. And I would encourage you, if this is you, I'm talking to you from Indiana, but there are so many others who can resonate with what she's saying. We did literally, I think it was a 13 or 14 part love series sometime last year. You can find it if you go on Couples Academy's YouTube channel and look through the playlist. We actually have a playlist and we unpack every single component of love, what it is, what it isn't, and how to begin to restore it in your relationship. I highly encourage you to invest in that.
Noreen says, I love that, Hassani. The commitment is why I'm still here. It's that little glimmer of hope. Perfectly stated. Yes. You want to go to the next one?
All right. We don't know how to repair after a conflict.
Now, that's a big one, right? Because sometimes we have a straight up showdown when it comes to our conflict, depending on our conflict styles, which we talked a little bit about earlier, right? So if I have the type of style, like here's an example, I grew up in a very loud house because I have 3 brothers and it was a sports house and we were always talking and making all kinds of noise. You grew up in maybe a quieter home because it was just you and your sister, right? So a lot of times if we were arguing, I was loud, and Hassani would do this all the time. Bring the volume down. I am still loud anyway. I don't even need a mic. What's the point? What's the point? Sometimes we say things, we can't take them back. The way we say things, what we say, we have to become wardens over our mouths so that we can say things and not have to look back and regret. But sometimes we do feel like the conflict is irreversible, and it just isn't. There's just a path to do it. We say this all the time. In order for you to heal your present and your future, you must time travel to your past and be willing to look at, examine, unearth all those hidden hurts and pains, and then resolve them so that you can move forward. There's no other way to go about doing that.
Yeah. Last point, guys, we don't have much in common. And I think a lot of times we feel like that when we begin to grow apart. So either the relationship started prematurely, we just fell in love, it was very physical and emotional, and we didn't have the proper foundation. So when we got married, we're like, I don't even know who you are, and we don't even have the same things in common, or we're just in 2 different spaces, intellectually, socially, we have different interests, passions, and desires. Or maybe when you got together, it was all love and you did everything together and you enjoy quality time and shared hobbies and things of that nature. But then over the course of time, you grow apart. You just go in 2 different directions. Well, what happened instinctually, what happened in an easy type of way, now it requires intentionality to get you back in alignment. It is simple course corrections. I mean, think about a vehicle. When your car starts driving funny and if you just take your hands off the steering wheel, it just ventures off. Well, guess what? You have to get your tires aligned. And once your tires are aligned, now it's just driving straight. It's smooth. It's a smooth ride. Likewise, in a relationship, you need alignment. You need maintenance. maintenance. And when those things happen, it takes your relationship to the next level. And so listen, guys, you've been listening to all of these tips about how to recognize if you're not in a good place. The question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to sit there and suffer in silence? Are you going to brew and steam and be mad and just punch walls, curse people out, and make empty threats and ultimatums that you ain't going to do nothing about? Are you just going to up and run and make hasty decisions and run to the divorce court because you feel like, you know what, there's no hope for me. I don't see that there's any possibility of anything getting better. If you're in any of those situations, you need to reach out for help. That's what we're here to do. Listen, guys, you've been watching the Couples Academy Show. We'll talk to you soon. See you tomorrow.
If you would like to be a guest on our show, or if you're interested in one of our restoration programs, contact us today at couplesacademy.org.